Transportation Improvement District, Delaware County Transportation Improvement District meeting, and would ask that everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. I'm Mike Fromer, Vice Chair, and I'll be chairing the meeting today. Chris Bowserman, our chair, is on the phone and will be providing input and updates throughout the meeting. Cy Keeley is here, our Secretary Treasurer. Pat Blaney, our member, is here. Tom Price is not present, but was excused his absence. So let's begin with the meeting.
We need the approval of the July 14th, 2021 regular meeting minutes.
I will move for approval of the July 14th meeting minutes.
Second.
Is it all in favor?
Yes.
Say aye.
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 Opposed?
All opposed? Okay, minutes approved. First off, let's start with under reports and discussion. Chris, do you have a chairman's report?
Just a couple brief comments, two items. One, like many of you probably have been watching the activity in Washington regarding an infrastructure bill that yesterday passed in the Senate. There still needs to be reconciliation of that bill with the House version. That I understand the House version contains earmarks that were included in here in Delaware County with a couple projects. And so watching that closely, it'll be interesting to see how whether the concept of earmarks survives the reconciliation process. But more to come on that. But the fact that about 20% of the bill, based on what I've read, is related to road and bridge transportation projects, and there's an increase in funding across the nation. So I think it's yet to be seen what the impact will be for all of us, but at least encouraging news that the infrastructure problem is being addressed. That's the first item. The second is to point out and recognize something that most of you are already aware of, that our Vice Chair, our County Administrator, Mike Fromer, is leaving the county for another job. And so I think this is probably your last meeting on the TID board. Is that right, Mike?
Yeah, that is correct. After talking with Rob earlier this week, and Eric Hosteller, that I was appointed to the position by name, I guess, and not necessarily county administrator position. So I provided a resignation that would be effective September 3rd for the TID board at that time. And I know the commissioners will be looking to, since they appoint all the board members, will be looking to fill that vacancy. So.
Well, just while I've got the floor, I just would like to thank you and recognize you for your work on this board and your support of transportation projects, both in the TID and in your role as county administrator. You've been a great friend of our office and our board, and personally. So we'll miss you, Mike, and just want to tell you how much we appreciate what you've done in your time here, and wish you the best. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. It's been a real pleasure to be on this board at the inception. I think Chris, it was your original vision that you shared with the commissioners, and this board has been a difference with improving the speed in which transportation projects and the coordination with entities. And it's been we talk a lot about changes in government structure, and there's been a lot of changes, but this has probably been one of the most successful I think, in the area that was needed, given our, the county's needs. So it's been a lot of fun seeing how this board can really accelerate and improve the transportation of the county, so.
Great. Mike, that's all I have, other than to say I'm glad we could put you to work at filling in as chair for your last meeting.
Thank you. Next would be Secretary Treasurer report. Sign.
The only thing I have is our monthly reconciled July balance is $4,417,102.64.
Sarah, do we need to approve that
Please.
report? Do we have a motion to approve the,
So move.
Second.
all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Is there any other member or committee reports? Next staff report, Rob?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'd like to just take a brief moment before I get into the staff report and also echo Chris's remarks. I've really appreciated working with you, Mike, and we'll miss having you, obviously, as part of this board, but also at the county level. So thanks for your support and everything you've done to help us along the way. It's been nice having an engineer, fellow high northern engineer, nonetheless, at the administrator level. So we're going to miss you. So
Yeah,
thanks for
I'll
that.
suggest the commissioners that they comb the Ohio Northern Civil Engineering roster out there and see who they can appoint to
concur.
the position.
Some of the others of us might like some input into that, too.
Well, I will just very briefly go through the staff report. Not a great deal of new business. The Holman Sawmill project, we now have final plans and a resolution next on the item, or agenda, to go out to bid for that project. Just as a reminder, that project we did submit for the ODOT TID grant program. We have not yet been notified whether we were successful in that grant application. So per the project agreement you passed at the last meeting, the commissioners will deposit $3.2 million over 2 years. The first $1.6 million has been deposited with TID or will be very shortly. So have you gotten that deposit yet?
It will be shortly.
It will be shortly, so that will fund the 2021 portion of the project with the balance funded in 2022. And obviously, we'll wait to see what happens with the TID ODOT grant. Heights and 23 improvements, that project is really finally wrapped up. That I think turned out really, really nice, particularly from a road standpoint. That's made a big difference in addressing some of the congestion at that intersection. There's now turn lanes in each direction approaching US 23. The sanitary sewer portion took a little while longer than we expected, but they did get it done. So it's just a good example of how difficult some of those coordination projects can be when you have sewer and road. What initially looks like a great pairing can be a little bit more difficult, although it was, I think, still the way to go. It just took more time than what we expected. So, but in the end, I think it turned out really nice. And we'll have the final contract amounts tallied up over the next month or two, and then get a certification to you probably in November. North Road Extension, another project just finished up in July. We have, let's see, don't have the final contract amount yet, so again, we'll be tallying up that amount over the next month or two. But to my knowledge, that came in on budget and on schedule. So I think we're excited to see that happen. I know the school, Olentangy schools are excited to have that. That is their one and only access to the new elementary school, which if you haven't been by there, it looks a whole lot different than it did a year ago. So happy to see that one done. And let's see what else. Lastly, the 7136 project, that is, I've continued working with MS Consultants, or I will be. Not a whole lot to report there. That coordination goes back for, I don't know, 6 or 8 months now, but we haven't, we've had some other things come up in the meantime, particularly with Big Walnut Interchange and so forth. So we'll keep pressing ahead with that, but nothing significant to report there. So with that, I believe that concludes my report. Other than there was a budget to actual report that Mr. Healy prepared, that is in your packet or was provided to you. So you can see that we're in pretty good shape in terms of finances this year. But that concludes my report.
I do have a question. You mentioned the Big Walnut interchange. What's the status of that?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Pat. I think the biggest thing we've been waiting on is the traffic projections. So basically, going back about a year and a half, ODOT expressed some concern about how our traffic projections were prepared in 2016 and 2017. So much has changed in that area, particularly with the ODOT project that they just completed or in the process of completing at Polaris Gemini. Reconfigured those ramps, and now there's more traffic on I-71 southbound because that bottleneck has been opened up to some level. ODOT is also in the process of working on a project at 270 and 71. If you're going eastbound on 270 past the brewery, there's a single lane flyover ramp to go northbound. ODOT is basically working on expanding that to 2 lanes, which will send a good bit more traffic northbound on I-71. And so that, to some level, complicates our math problem at Big Walnut because we have to deal with more traffic getting there. The good news is we have newer traffic projections to manage or to work with. So in a nutshell, that's what's been going on recently, and that's where things stand. We have some work to do, kind of reconciling our old analysis with the new traffic. We're going to look to get back into that probably in September in more detail, but that's kind of where things stand.
So the sense of it is if there's more traffic coming at us from the south, then that, I would think, emphasize the need for that interchange to be there. That's my thought.
I agree with you, and I think most of us are in agreement. The concern ODOT has expressed is obviously their position is their priority is maintaining traffic flow on I-71. They don't want to see an interchange degrade operation of the freeway. I will say they've recently changed some of their guidance on allowing new interchanges. It used to be ODOT would focus primarily on the peak hour analysis, so looking at the morning peak hour and the afternoon peak hour, making sure that there's no degradation or at least mitigating the degradation and traffic flow in those hours. That will be very challenging, if not impossible, because so much traffic per the modeling wants to use this new interchange. It's currently, for the last 30 years been diverting to other routes. Putting a new interchange there brings a lot of traffic to I-71. So ODOT has kind of changed their thinking a little bit with their guidance and taking a more holistic view, not just focusing on the peak hours, but actually does the project serve a bigger purpose? Does it connect our network to the highway system? Does it shorten commutes and shorten trips the other 22 hours a day? And so that's been a big deal because ODOT was pretty rigid in their looking for a long time, and I think they've just now implemented that guidance. So again, that'll be one of the things we look at as we move back into it.
All right, thank you.
Rob, I just wanted to, I received a call from Mark Rafe shortly after August 1st. I know you had told him and had a lot of conversations because the school opening was dependent on the road, and we had guaranteed Mark that it would be open by August 1st and working with the contractor, and he wanted to call and say that he really appreciated that work, and I told him I'd pass that along to you and others on the TID, that he was very appreciative. He's got a lot of things going on, and that's something he didn't need to be worried about. So he called me from his car when he was driving down North Road on hands-free and saying how wonderful it was. So I told him I'd pass it along.
That's great, thank you.
Next, I think we have one resolution. Sarah, do you want to read the resolution we're considering?
Yes, resolution number 202105, a resolution approving the plan specifications and estimates and authorizing the county engineer to advise or advertise for bids for the Home Road and Salmo Parkway improvements. Sorry.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I would just add, the estimated cost for this is 3.5 million. That includes a $300,000 contingency. Again, I remind you that the commissioners have committed to depositing up to 3.2 million currently, and then we're waiting on the $500,000 grant determination from ODOT. If we aren't successful in that grant for some reason, which I'd be scratching my head why that's not one of the best projects in the state, given the number of jobs that are being created, but if for whatever reason it isn't, we will want to have a discussion about if we want to approach the Board of Commissioners about increasing that 3.2 million or just funding any potential overage out of current TID funds. And so the financial report I provided this morning shows we've got ample cash to fund that should we need to, but we can have that discussion after we actually get the bids in, because it's difficult to predict what type of bids we'll get, given this is a multi-year project. So my hope is contractors will bid aggressively, knowing that they're securing work for next year, but we'll see.
Roll call vote?
Vote on motion 2021-05. Mr. Blaney?
Yes.
Mr. Frommer?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Okay, next is other business. I just wanted to bring up that the commissioners have, they're preliminarily working through some of the ARP funds, and one of the areas that has been identified is potentially providing some infrastructure in areas of economic development for, job creation and businesses, and Berlin Business Park and 23 are two areas that have been identified. And I think one of the discussions have been potentially partnering with the TID to help with some of that infrastructure. There'll be more that'll need to happen on that, but I just wanted to kind of bring that up. We've got some land that's zoned for businesses, and one of the stumbling blocks of creating pad-ready sites is getting infrastructure. So there could be some things that happen. So, any other items? Okay, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Meeting is